Every single day, these absolute cities of steel are just silently gliding across our oceans. They're carrying pretty much our entire modern world in their hulls, everything from the phone in your hand to the gas in your car. But have you ever stopped to wonder what really keeps these massive ships and the people on them safe out there? Well, it's not just skill. It's this hidden rulebook, this global safety net that was actually born from one of history's biggest disasters. So let's dive in. Just imagine this for a second. You're on a ship that weighs 200,000 tons. You're miles and miles from any shore. And then, suddenly, everything goes dark. The lights flicker out. The roar of the engines just stops. You're completely adrift in the dark. Now, this isn't just some movie plot. This is the exact nightmare scenario that a whole set of global rules was designed to prevent. So where did this rule book even come from? Well, like a lot of the most important safety rules we have, it wasn't dreamed up in some quiet office. No, it was written in the wake of a disaster that I guarantee you've heard of. A disaster the world would never, ever forget. That's right, the Titanic. The sinking of the unsinkable ship back in 1912 was the ultimate wake-up call. The sheer loss of life was catastrophic, and it exposed this massive, shocking gap. There were no real international safety standards. The world finally realized it needed one single mandatory set of rules that applied to all ships, everywhere. And right out of that tragedy, SOLAS was born. That stands for International Convention for the Safety of Life at Sea. And honestly, it's probably the single most important treaty for maritime safety ever. It creates these minimum standards for basically everything on a ship: how it's built, its fire safety, its navigation gear, and most importantly, what to do in an emergency. Okay, so let's see how these rules actually work in the real world. Let's go back to that blackout scenario, a ship losing all its main power. SOLAS has a very, very specific answer for this problem, and it all comes down to a ship's last line of defense: the emergency generator. I mean, think about the pressure here. The main power goes out. The emergency generator has to automatically kick on and get all the essential systems back online. The SOLAS rule? It has to do all of that in just 45 seconds. That's it. Less than a minute to bring a totally dead ship roaring back to life. And once it's on, it's got to stay on. SOLAS mandates that this generator has to be able to power all the essentials for a minimum of 18 hours. And that's not just some random number they picked. That 18 hours is the critical window of time the crew needs to either fix the main problem or for help to arrive. It's a lifeline. But what if the generator itself fails to start? Well, you can bet SOLAS thought of that too. The system is built with layers of backups. It doesn't just get one chance to start, it gets 6. There's a primary mode that gets 3 tries. If that doesn't work for some reason, a completely separate independent secondary mode gives it 3 more chances. The whole system is just built around the idea that failure is simply not an option. And this is where you see just how serious these rules are. These generators are designed for the absolute worst case. They have to start in freezing cold weather. They have to keep running even if the ship is tilting at a crazy 22.5-degree angle. Even the fuel is special. It's regulated to be less flammable. It's not just about having power, it's about guaranteeing that power under the most extreme conditions you can imagine. Okay, so getting the lights back on is one thing, but a 200,000-ton ship with no steering, that's basically a giant unstoppable object just drifting at sea. So how does SOLAS make sure a ship can always be controlled? Well, the answer is in the steering gear. And the rules here, they aren't suggestions. They are incredibly precise. SOLAS lays out exactly how responsive a ship's steering has to be. The rudder has to be able to swing from a 35-degree turn on one side all the way over to a 30-degree turn on the other side in under 28 seconds. That specific timing ensures that even the biggest ships on the ocean can maneuver fast enough to avoid a collision. And just like that emergency generator, the steering system is built to handle a power outage without missing a beat. If the power to the steering gear cuts out, it's required to restart automatically the second power comes back. There's no one scrambling in the dark trying to find a reset button. The ship is designed to regain control instantly. See, it's all about building these layers of protection. There's a dedicated, always-on communication line between the captain on the bridge and the steering room. You've got alarms for everything: low hydraulic fluid, a motor getting overworked, and here's the kicker. At least one of the steering gear motors is always wired directly to that emergency generator we were just talking about. Power and control are locked together in this perfect loop of safety. So we've gone deep on generators and steering gears, we've talked about specific angles and time limits, but let's zoom back out for a second. What does all this super technical, meticulous detail really mean? Why does this invisible safety net matter so much? Because at the end of the day, SOLAS is so much more than just a dry technical rulebook. It's really the collected wisdom of over 100 years at sea. Every single rule, every specific number, it's there for a reason. And usually it's a tragic one. It represents this global promise to every single person who works or travels on the sea that their safety is the #1 priority. And you know what? That promise has a massive, real-world impact. It protects the lives of the men and women working on these ships, and it's the foundation of our entire global economy. The safety and reliability that SOLAS creates is what allows this incredibly complex dance of global shipping to happen, 24/7, every single day. It really makes you think, doesn't it? SOLAS is just one of these huge, intricate systems of rules that are quietly working in the background of our lives all the time. From the building codes that keep our houses standing to the insane regulations that make flying in a plane so incredibly safe. Our whole world is built on these invisible frameworks. It kind of leaves you wondering, what other hidden rulebooks are out there, just quietly keeping everything running?